start up with the upcoming G20 summit. As the head of the G20 summit, we get you a mega Network 18 exclusive where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Moneycontrol, highlighting the impact of rising Bharat on the global stage. Now, Prime Minister Modi said that India has been advancing the interests of the developing world, including those of nations not represented in the G20, such as the countries of the African Union. The Prime Minister has made it clear that India's growth is not only beneficial for Indians, but also for the world. He further added that we have followed the approach of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Prayas in our country for the last 9 years. This is our guiding principle in global relations as well. Well, I have CNN News 18's Aman Sharma joining me early this morning. Aman, a very good morning to you. Could you give us the key highlights of that conversation, that exclusive conversation Prime Minister Modi had with Moneycontrol?
See, I think the major words of the Prime Minister here, I would divide them into maybe 4 or 5 parts. Obviously, a lot of thrust on the upcoming G20 Leaders Summit, which is happening later this week, where the US President and many other top world leaders are expected, a highlight event of India's year-long G20 presidency, where the PM is speaking on India's G20 agenda. He's saying that, as you can see, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas, Sabka Prayas has been India's Mool mantra, which even the world has accepted during the G20's presidency as the way to go forward. If I quote the PM here, he says that India's agenda for G20 was universally welcomed because the world knew that the country would bring its proactive and positive approach to find solutions to global issues. A very important statement by the Prime Minister. Global issues of climate change, global issues of growth, peace, inflation, all these issues, the world thought that India's agenda will help bring resolution to these global issues. Also, him saying that what brings great dividends in bringing the country together is to pursue progress and deliver the fruits of growth to the last mile. Another very important point, that what has been the agenda of India's G20 presidency, equitable trade policies. Also, I think the PM is laying a strong thrust on the involvement of the African Union in India's G20 presidency. He said India has been advancing the interests of the developing world. So that includes the interests of nations not even represented by the G20, such as countries of the African Union. And there's been a lot of buzz, Sakshi, that after the European Union is a part of the G20, why can't the African Union also become a part of the G20? This is a huge talking point in diplomatic circles. And will that actually happen in the upcoming G20 Leader Summit? Will that move be happening towards that? Is also be very interesting to see. Also, the PM saying that perhaps for the first time in the history of G20, the troika is with the developing world. Indonesia, India and Brazil. Indonesia had the G20 presidency before India. Now India has it, and now India will be handing over the G20 presidency to Brazil from December this year. So in a way, the PM saying that this troika can amplify the voice of the developing world at a crucial time when obviously there are increased tensions due to increased geopolitics and the Russia-Ukraine war going on, which has practically divided the world into 2 parts. Also the PM also stressing on how India has been advocating for the global south. Another very, very key agenda of the Prime Minister. He has spoken it on other occasions as well, that how India has been the shoulder for the global south. Even in this exclusive interview with Moneycontrol, he is saying that India is raising the concerns of the global south at all multilateral forums, including the G20. And these are the countries with which we empathize, the PM is saying. So since we are part of the developing world, we understand their aspirations. Another very important point from the PM, that it is the developing countries' aspirations that India understands, and the world looks at India when it looks at the global south. I think very, very key statements here. Also, I think what the PM has said about India's growth story, also showcasing the India's growth story. As we all know, India is now the 5th largest economy in the world. The PM has promised that India will be the 3rd largest economy in the world in his 3rd term as the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister saying that India's growth is not only good for Indians, but also for the entire world. India's growth is a global good. India's growth is clean growth. India's growth is green growth. I think very important points being made by the PM. And also it says that how India's growth will further the interests of the global south. India's growth is being achieved with a human-centric approach, the Prime Minister has told Moneycontrol, that can be replicated in other countries also. Very, very important points. A strong record of India, I think, be put forward by the Prime Minister in this interview with Moneycontrol. Also, the point that the PM is making, I think, which has a political tinge to it also, a very, very strong point that India's growth is also because of political stability. Prime Minister Narendra Modi clearly saying that the last two mandates that the people gave him led to politically stable, strong governments in India. 2014 mandate was given to him on the basis of the promises he made to the people. But the 2019 mandate, which was even bigger than the 2014 mandate, came after performance and the future plan of the country that he laid out before the people. So these two strong mandates led to a strong government at the center, and that is why long-lasting reforms, in fact, the word he uses is deep structural reforms, could be carried out in the country because there was a stable government at the center. And he said it is a privilege for him that people have placed this unprecedented trust in him and given him very, very two strong mandates. He's saying due to this political stability, we saw reforms, we saw big reforms like the GST, like other reforms which have been carried out. And this is what has led to reforms in not just the economy, but in every sector of the economy. He's mentioned about economy, about education, about social empowerment, about infrastructure, about social welfare. He said there are a number of reforms which have happened. So I think a very, very strong pitch by Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, to Moneycontrol about the political stability of his government and why these strong electoral mandates matter. And I think this is also a message before the 2024 elections. PM also, I think, speaking very confidently about the issue of inflation and freebies, which is also dominating the political discourse in the country right now. When the PM says that we have taken a number of steps to control inflation, he says that even in the face of adversities and when at a time inflation is at a global high, India's inflation was 2 percentage points lower than the global average inflation rate of 2022. Again, a very, very important statement. He still says that we are not resting on that and we continue to make pro-people decisions like to boost the ease of living. He referred to the recent 200 rupees cut in the LPG prices, because people were in a bit of a bother due to high LPG prices. LPG price had reached 1100 rupees due to the global prices. PM saying that the government decided to give a rupees 200 relief to the common man, and this is something that, to the consumers, it was given in fact to everybody. So in a way, he describes them as pro-people decisions to boost the ease of living. But at the same time, the PM has come down very strongly on the culture of freebies. He's saying that, in fact, he has been stressing that from many multiple fora, that precautionary steps need to be taken to avoid a similar situation in countries, where there has been a debt crisis. So in our country too, he said in multiple platforms, I have spoken about the need to be alert against financially irresponsible policies. I think the direction here is towards the policies that the Congress has been following in poll-bound states like Karnataka, like Himachal Pradesh, and now the upcoming states of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, where the Congress is promising these freebies, LPG cylinders at only rupees 500, cash tolls to people. The PM clearly saying that the long implication of such freebie policies destroy not only the economy, but also the society, and the poor actually pay a heavy price for this. I think a very, very important statement here by the Prime Minister that the freebies policy, in fact, hurt the poor in the long run and also hurt the economy in the long run. But he says that he's happy that people are increasingly becoming aware of the problem. Sakshi, I would describe these as the major points of the Prime Minister's interview to Moneycontrol, and of course the entire interview will soon be posted on the Moneycontrol website by 7:30 a.m.